start with you with those pictures we were just looking at, that they're talking about the specificity with which they were able to target, right? Leave the building intact, take out just the communications tower. Leave a building intact, take out just where they may have been communicating in two separate instances. This would seem to indicate that there was very specific intelligence about what was going on the ground. What's changed? Because a few weeks ago we were told there was no intelligence on the ground in Syria.
Well, in the interim, we've collected a great deal of intelligence from our aircraft overhead that have penetrated into Syrian airspace, along with satellites. And then we do have CIA operatives on the ground as well. So this has all been collected and analyzed, and they were able to determine the precise hit points for the Tomahawk missiles and the other bombs dropped from the air.
Paul, what's your understanding now in terms of the intelligence? Has the situation shifted dramatically? Because that seemed to be the big fear, was that you wouldn't know who was there, you wouldn't know where they were, you wouldn't know what they were planning, because there wasn't a lot of CIA presence on the ground.
Well, they're trying to get better intelligence. I don't think they yet have much CIA presence on the ground, nor are they getting much intelligence, obviously, from the Syrian regime, the regime of Assad. So I think there's still limited intelligence capability. From the air, you can see training camps, other facilities, things like that. But in terms of knowing where the leadership are, that's something completely different.
All right, so let's talk about this Khorasan group, because obviously the mission was to degrade and destroy ISIS, and then all of a sudden you had several of these strikes not targeting ISIS at all, but another group, Khorasan. Khorasan basically means al-Qaeda.
Khorasan means al-Qaeda, not just al-Qaeda, but al-Qaeda's A-team. These are veteran al-Qaeda operatives. The leader of this group, a Kuwaiti, was part of the inner circle with bin Laden in the weeks leading up to 9/11. So these are very, very capable operatives. They've been building up their presence in Syria, in Idlib province over the last year, trying to recruit Europeans and other Westerners into their ranks so that they could launch attacks back in the West.
So, Colonel Mansour, when I hear what Paul says, I'm sort of hearing this is al-Qaeda core, which we've been told was decimated.
Well, it certainly has been decimated in the sense that we've reduced the numbers, but it still exists, and it's morphed out of western Pakistan into these safe havens. They like areas like this where there's no government authority, and they can set up shop and then plan attacks against the West. So al-Qaeda has morphed and perhaps has become a more dangerous threat because we don't have as good information on it. It was almost easier to target when it was centralized just in Pakistan.
Right, because Paul, do they know at this point, I mean, as Deb was reporting, they don't really know who they got, who they killed.
They don't know if they killed the leader, they don't know if they killed the bomb makers, they don't know if they killed the Western terrorist operatives that they were trying to recruit.
And they don't know if a lot of those people fled, and, right? I mean, they don't know.
So they could have fled, and this plot could still be in operation. It could even be accelerated. So they'll be looking very, very closely. They'll be very worried about this, because this is a plot which seems to be targeting Western aviation, U.S. passenger jets.
And do they have much more? I mean, obviously it was very specific what they had. They talked about toothpaste. They talked about the toiletry, the carry-on toiletry size. They talk about clothes with explosive devices on them. That would sound like they know a lot, but it seems like there were still some key gaps.
There's still key gaps. Often it's very fragmentary, the intelligence on these kind of things. But this group was experimenting with all sorts of ways to get bombs onto planes, concerned that Ibrahim al-Assad, the master bomb maker in Yemen, was training apprentices, and some of these apprentices have joined this group in Syria.
And Colonel Mansour, what about the issue, as Arwa Damon is going to be talking about in a moment, that there was possibly civilians killed, collateral damage, that this could turn the hearts and minds? How big of a risk is this?
Well, certainly we try to avoid collateral damage and civilian casualties, but, you know, the Syrian people don't like the United States all that much in the first place. We haven't really helped them a great deal against the Assad regime.
Right.
So this will be an issue going forward as we try to foment a tribal rebellion and build up the Free Syrian Army. We've got to keep the Syrians on our side and in the war against ISIS. Let me make one point that in 1998, when our embassies were bombed in Africa, we responded with a cruise missile attack in Afghanistan, and 3 years later al-Qaeda launched 9/11. So I'm not sure that cruise missiles alone are going to get the job done in this case.